Todd Ryan, Cool FM, live from our studios here in Sierra Vista, Arizona. As we broke the news late last year, Sierra Vista Mayor Cleo Mackay will not seek re-election, which is giving us the opportunity to speak with those who will be running for the office. And today, the man right in front of you, we check in with Brandon Martin, who recently announced his candidacy for Sierra Vista Mayor. As a note of transparency over the coming political season, we will do our best to ask the mayoral candidates the same questions, roughly. It might be some exceptions here or there, as to be fair and allow them to answer the questions as they see fit. We already interviewed the other two candidates for mayor as well. Brandon Martin, thank you for this exclusive interview time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Todd. Good to be here with you.
Now, before we discuss what you would like to do as mayor, I'd like to talk about your time in Sierra Vista, what civic organizations or nonprofit organizations you've been a part of. Just give us a little sense for your own resume.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I worked on Fort Huachuca for over a decade, and after leaving that venue, I got into politics. I ran for the congressional seat, which was Congressional District 2 when I first started running. And my last race, it was Congressional District 6, winning the primary in 2020 and going on to the general election. But since then, I've been looking to educate people. I found a love for politics in that I love civics. I love to be engaged with the people and have them involved in the community and making these decisions for themselves and aware of the impact that their vote makes and their voice makes. So I started an organization which started out with just teaching people what it meant to be involved in their community, what civics meant. And so we went around and we taught classes on the Constitution. We taught classes on different things that people from America's history have done to make an influence and how just one person can have an impact. And that grew. And we had over 200 people register for our classes in the first year. So then I said, well, this is something that people want. This is something that people are responding to. So then what we did was we said, okay, we're going to make this into a thing where we start a K through 12 organization, all boys school, and we teach. And that has been a journey in itself. So the school's name is Northeast Institute. It's a year-round K through 12 all boys school, taught and administered by military veterans. And just recently, one of our big donors put an offer in on a building, a big building here in Sierra Vista, extended a written offer. The owner decided that he didn't want to sell anymore, but we are currently working with one of the top commercial real estate guys in the area, and we're just hoping to get in a building that's ours here very soon, but it's got to be right. It's got to be right for the school and right for the kids. But been doing that. I'm also a member of Huachuca Lodge number 53. We do a lot of great things around the community. I've been involved there for 8 years, and this year I'm the president of our Sierra Vista Lodge. And so we do programs helping our schools. We donate to many of the sports teams at Buena High. And one of our year charities that we do is we do Bikes for Books. And we have had a great response with that. We've had hundreds of kids read thousands of books. And so we give a grade winner every year a bike for the most books read. And it's just something giving back to the community. Education has always been a top priority for me. I taught as a substitute teacher for a year in Ayer, Massachusetts. I was also a PE teacher here at Breen Academy for a year. So education has always been a top priority for me in giving back to our community and our youth.
How do you believe your time serving in various capacities around our city has prepared you to run for the mayor of Sierra Vista?
Well, when I worked on Fort Huachuca, I was an instructor there for years. And so I went on to be the training coordinator for USACO, or the Center of Excellence here. And so when I was at that position, I created a mentorship program because we were going through an adjustment in force. We were looking at potentially a lot of people that were Army civilians or contractors who were going to lose their jobs, lose their source of income and livelihood. And so what we did was we created this mentorship program so that way these folks could be cross-trained, sent to other courses, and it was a great success. And the Civilian Support Council that I initiated and I chaired my first year is still going on Fort Huachuca. It's something where the people in uniform that are running the post, they can hear from the civilian leaders through all the different courses, and they can get input and buy-in from the folks on the ground, so to speak, as to what the fort can do and how they can more be effective in their force. So very proud of that. And then most recently, I was an assistant store manager here at Lowe's, and I was in the specialty departments, so appliances, millwork, flooring, home decor, stuff like that. I ran a great sales team there. Got to give all the credit to the people, but customer service. Customer service is a big thing, making sure that your customer comes in and gets everything they need for their job, their project, and that they leave happy. They know that they had money well spent. And so providing top tier service was important. And our team was so good at it that I got put in charge of the captainship of making sure that people were leaving satisfied. So customer satisfaction, filling out the surveys, making sure that everything was done properly. All the questions were being asked by our associates and our sales team, and I loved it. It was exciting. The funnest part of that job was being on the floor with my people, talking to the customers who came in, making a difference. I remember a young couple who came in, woman's pregnant, got a huge belly, and just a young couple, and the guy's like, yeah, I work in the mines, and they were looking to buy a brand new washer and dryer, and so just working with them, getting the best deal, saving them every bit of money we can because they need it. And it's just helping people is truly a blessing. And so looked, to translate that into the mayoral race and being the mayor of this city, customer service is number one. So what I want to do to tie those two things together is I want to develop councils within the city. So one of those, for example, is I'm going to start an initiative where we invite the student body from Buena High School to pair up with their equivalent at the city council and mayor. So they sit in on our meetings, they see how it is to actually go in and vote on things, run the city, debate things, and then they have that knowledge and we involve the youth and they get to come through that. But I also want to start some more initiatives where we hear from people. We need to bring back, the city of Vista has grown. It used to be just Fry Boulevard, but now, we're much bigger. So I'd like to be, very involved with the community, bring back community watch. And so that way we have people communicating with our police. So that way the police force, they don't have to be strained all the time. They can say to the citizens, they can say to the community watch, like, hey, what are you noticing here? And it's a back and forth conversation where the community is tied in and it doesn't seem like it's heavy on one side or the other. And then the last thing I want to do with these things is, I am a Christian and I don't believe that it is my job to tell everyone, you have to be a Christian. But what I do believe as a Christian is that we should be taking care of our neighbors, especially the poorest people in our communities. So I want to invite every religious leader from the city to join a council, come to the council meetings, have a day where we hear for them, and we can be told directly from the people who are supposed to be looking out for the poor, who are supposed to be there for the communities, what it is that we're not seeing, what they see in their churches and wherever they may be. So that way we get a good picture of how the city is doing as a whole, a good health check, a good situation report, so we can go and provide the best services possible.
What do you see as pressing challenges facing Sierra Vista right now? And if elected mayor, how would you address them?
Sure. So one of the big things, obviously, I think right now is affordability. People are talking about jobs. People are talking about affordability. When you have to pay, $4 or over $4 for a gallon of gas, or you're looking at the price of milk, and me and my family, I have 3 small kids, about to have a 4th here in September. We go through milk and yogurt and eggs like crazy. We buy the 60 box from Walmart, and at one point in the recent past, that box of 60 eggs was $24 and change. Thankfully, it's come back down. It's now like $8.12, and that's how often I buy them that I know. But prices are still rising. Jobs is a big issue. We got to make sure that there's jobs here, and it's a balance. It's not just the retirees. It's not just the workforce, but those two demographics, they work together in concert. Because if we don't have the younger people working, paying into the tax system, we don't have the services for the elderly and the retired. And so those two groups, we have to find a way. And I'm ready to do that. When I ran for Congress, I met a lot of people, and this isn't a brag, but I'm here to offer the citizens of this city a mayor who is connected. I learned from my congressional races that people who do things, people who move, who create jobs, who start businesses, they're people who are connected. And I'll give you a quick story, Todd. I sat in a boardroom with a millionaire in Tucson. He owns many properties. And, I'm asking him to support my campaign. And he has his secretary open up the boardroom, bring in a phone and his Rolodex. And we sit there and we go through, and he's calling every other millionaire. He's like, this guy? Yeah, he owns this car dealership over here. Do you know this guy? He owns this hotel or whatever. And so as a small town kid coming from a farming community in Indiana, I saw behind the curtain. I saw how things get done. I sat at those tables. President Trump, he endorsed me multiple times. Over 3 times he mentioned my name. I met a lot of the Trump family. I've met a lot of politicians, elected folks, and I see how the things work. Now, for the Democrats that are in the city, I obviously ran as a Republican, and that's what that is. But when I'm running for the mayor of this city, it's a nonpartisan race. I'm not looking as a Republican or Democrat, but it is a big deal to me. Regardless of who the president is, whether it's Trump, Obama, Bush, Clinton, whomever, Biden, for a small town kid to be mentioned by name multiple times by the president of the United States, by the most powerful man in the world, no matter who it was an honor. It was something that has just been a source of inspiration for me. And hopefully, my kids, they look at that and they say, okay, yeah, that is our dad. But what I took from that was how to get deals done, how to get business done. So if you read over my website and you look at these pillars, I talk about creating jobs, which we just addressed, opportunity zones. So when I was in DC on one of my trips, I met a guy who he is the author, he is the inventor of the opportunity zones. We're still friends on Facebook. We've talked and had conversations. He lives in South Florida. I know the people. Not to brag, but I have the White House chief of staff's personal cell phone number in my cell phone. I am able to offer this city as a candidate the ability to reach out to people who can really get things done. So when it comes to making jobs, creating jobs in this city for the people here, we really have to look at that. We have to reach out. We have to network. And my time on Fort Huachuca as an intelligence professional, that all lends to it. And that's why I'm successful. That's why a guy you never heard of who worked on post as a training coordinator didn't know a single person at the Republican Party. I didn't know who the chairman was. I couldn't have told you a single person at that building. I went from that within 4 years to being mentioned by the President of the United States, the Vice President, sitting members of Congress, Steve Scalise, the Majority Whip at the time. So I know how to network. I know how to do it. The Army has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on me to train me to do this. And so that's what I offer you as the voter. I offer you someone who's going to go out and advocate for you to bring jobs here. And not just advocate for you, but to make sure that I'm doing my best because, like I mentioned, I have 3 small children at home right now with another one on the way. And this is our home. Sierra Vista is our home. So it's not just about the retirees, but that leads into my second pillar, which I'd like to discuss. But we have to have a good, balanced relationship here for all the citizens of Sierra Vista.
Brandon, you've had an interesting political journey. You've chaired the Cochise County Republican Party in 2023, then switched to Libertarian.
Sure.
And now you're running as an independent, correct?
Correct.
Walk us through what prompted those changes and what independent actually means for how you'll govern Sierra Vista.
Sure, absolutely. So that's an interesting one because when I was younger, as you see the gray in my beard, we all change and we all grow and we get cultured and we mature over time. And there was at one point in the early 2000s when I got back from Afghanistan, I was very much a pro-George Bush Republican, and I was in favor of the Patriot Act. I was like, if it stops another terrorist attack in this country, screen us, and implement the TSA, do what you have to do to make us secure. Well, even in my own Republican journey, I started growing and maturing and realizing that, books like 1984 and people who had much more knowledge than me, who were much more educated than me and had life experience before me, were warning us of there's a balance. And if you go too far to the right or to the left, you really could end up in a situation where the citizens and the rights of those citizens are not protected and they can actually be infringed or trampled on. So my thoughts on things have changed. And when I ran for Congress, one of the things that was important to me was it was on my website. I wanted to abolish the 16th Amendment. I wanted to get rid of the income tax. Now, that's not something a lot of your Republican candidates talk about. It's very much a libertarian view. But I, being the person I am, decided that it was a losing effort to run for Congress as a libertarian. I don't think I would have made it even on the ballot. I don't think it would have been a successful venture, and I didn't get into it to lose. So I looked at it and I said, if there's a party that I align with more here in this race, it's the Republican Party. So that's why I ran as a Republican. I do share more. At that time, I did share more of my political views with the Republican Party. And when my tenure with the Republican Party was done, when I decided to leave that organization, I said, where do I fit politically? Like, what do I want for my political views? Non-aggression. I don't believe that America should be the first person to act. If it's defending ourselves, I'm all for it. But I believe that in causing no harm and responding if we need to. I believe in low taxes. I believe in no income tax. So I went to the Libertarian Party. And honestly, I had no intention of running for office again. It's not something that I planned, but I was open to if it ever came about. And when I got into this race, or when I looked at getting into this race, I had some people from the community call me. I had community leaders, business leaders, and I had people saying, hey, have you considered running for mayor? And so I got a good temperature check from people around here before I made this decision. And I talked to my wife because, she and we met during the middle of my congressional campaigns, and we got married in between my second and third campaign. And so, marriage is a journey in itself. And so I love my wife and my kids, and I had to make sure that this race was right for us. So after I talked to different people, and I talked to my wife, and she's supporting this 100%. We're looking at this, and I say, you know what? I still don't believe the Libertarian Party is a viable party to run as a candidate. I just don't. And it's not because of their principles or their political views, but if you have had any experience with the Libertarian Party in itself, their own members fight over who can hold different positions and who's going to be put forward when they run for election. So the party apparatus is just something I didn't want to deal with as a libertarian. So I then registered as an independent. And I said, this is a nonpartisan race. At the end of the day, when they put our names on the ballots, it's not going to say Brandon Martin, RD, or anything, or I. It's just going to be my name. So I'm running this as an independent. I have a lot of conservative views. I have a lot of liberty-minded views. I still think the income tax should be abolished. I think that we should be non-aggressors. I think that we do have rights in this country as American citizens, and we should have strong borders. I think that, having more money in our pockets and not, creating conflict where we don't have to should be the policy of everyone. I think that's just good sense. But that's why I'm an independent now. That's why I was a Republican then. And I look forward to representing all the citizens of this city in the same way that I just expressed in my beliefs. And that is through leadership of non-aggression, but being prepared, making sure that we have a safe city, making sure that we have jobs for people, making sure that, when you go home at night, you feel secure and that this is the best city it can be. And that's what I want to provide.
Well, when you made your campaign announcement on Cool FM Live, there were over 200 comments that I counted in our post of your original press release. Now, in the spirit of transparency to the constituents that you hope to work for, are there any that you'd care to address? Because there were some, pretty harsh accusations that were made in some of those comments. Do you want to touch base on some of those, in fairness?
Sure, absolutely. And so let me talk a little bit about that. I'll start with some easy ones, and then I'll go to some of the more controversial ones. First, let me say this. There are certain people in this community that are bad actors and have ill intent. And years ago, in 2023, I blocked them on my personal Facebook page. So not my political one, but my personal one, because they were tagging me multiple times a day. So for those people who are making comments on this post that you refer to, Todd, I haven't even seen those comments because I cannot see them. But that being said, it does weigh important that you know who you're voting for. And so I appreciate the transparency. And let me say this, I've never been arrested. In fact, I've never even been charged with a crime. The most serious offense that I have run into with the law is a speeding ticket, a speeding violation. So from time to time, I do speed, and that's something that I have been working on. And so there's a lot of misinformation going around there. Okay. Another one, another comment I saw. This one's a little lighter, but there was a guy in there that asked about my cowboy hat. He said, "How often does Brandon wear that cowboy hat?" And it was my white hat. And I do wear my hats often, and I even like ball caps. I came from a farming community in Indiana, so I do wear baseball caps as well. But that white hat was given to me by a rancher here in Cochise County. It's a very important hat to me. It means a lot to me, and so I wear it with pride. I'm obviously not a rancher, but when I was campaigning, I went up to Benson to a ranch up there with a rancher named Larry, and I spent time with him and his cowboys branding his cattle, and that was a great thing. I spent some time here with a rancher in southern Cochise County, feeding the bulls that he had. We were dropping hay with his tractor over the fence for him and stuff. So I'm no stranger to farm work. My family's had farm animals. This hat is a birthday present last year from my wife Jessica. So I wear this one with pride too. It means a lot to me. But I do wear my hats, and while I don't believe you should vote for me solely on how the hats look, I do think, though, that some of the other things, unfortunately, have made their way into public view when it shouldn't. I love my children. I have 3 young children at home, and my children are my whole world. So that's what it is, and I'm very protective. I do have another child who I love, and unfortunately, some family court drama had spilled over. And when you're in the public eye, when you decide to run for public office, you open yourself up to anything. And so there is a long history with family court. And so just to say this, at a time where I had run a congressional campaign, I had just got married, just had a child, my first child with my new wife. There was a lot of stuff going on. And so I don't believe that I have to confess my sins to anybody but God. I believe that because of Jesus Christ, I have a direct link to God, and I confess my sins daily. But let me tell you this. I have and do make child support payments. Just actually made a big one this year. But, for those people out there that would like to call me a deadbeat, I wasn't a deadbeat. When my ex-wife told me she had an abortion, to find out because of her mother that she didn't. Even after that, when I didn't get to see my child for the first 2 years of her life because the mother had got a restraining order, even though we hadn't been together for months, and I wasn't even invited to court for that, and no charges had been pressed or anything. I had to sue for paternity just to be recognized legally as the father of my child, even though. Many times I've been through 3 false allegations that have been reported to DCS. And the last one that caused a lot of tension between me and my current wife and strained our marriage, which was proven false. I mean, there was an investigation done. It was all proven false. It's a lot. And when the people from DCS were calling not only my wife, but my father and mother-in-law and harassing them at home and at work, DCS tells us, me and my new wife, Jessica, that we have to let them inspect our 1-month-old daughter, our first kid together, who had just been born a month earlier, who had just stayed in the NICU. And they had to inspect her physically because she shared the same residence. There was a lot that goes on. And I do believe in transparency. I don't believe that I owe anybody anything other than I'm not a criminal. I love my children. I've never been charged with a crime, and I will address the Republican Party. When I was the Republican Party chairman, the prior chairman and his supporters were not very happy that I had defeated them.
And it was a close election. It was a close election. It was only a few votes.
3 votes, yeah.
And so there was a lot of hard feelings during that time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a close vote. But I will say this. When this all got wrapped up together and the Republican Party started working with my ex-wife and a member, the current chairman of the Republican Party, testifies in one of my family court hearings. Um, it was a far overreach and something that I will not abide. And so, as a parent and someone who loves and cares about their children, I'll say this: there is a lot of misinformation that's going around. The former chairman, who was upset about losing, him and his followers filed false police reports. They filed a police report where 12 or 13 of them signed on and said I assaulted him. And charges never got pressed, even though 13 people filed this police report. And the reason why is because I went in with my phone like this and I recorded the whole thing. And I don't think they were aware that I recorded the whole thing. So when those police reports went up and I got contacted by the police of Sierra Vista, I gave them the video. And the county prosecutor's office did not press charges, not even for domestic disturbance, not even, for making a ruckus, because there wasn't. And I have the video, and I'm not a criminal. And, I am happy to show the video. You want to come sign my petition? I'll show you the video. I'll let you watch it uninterrupted, and you can have that. But I'm not a criminal. I love my children. Definitely not a deadbeat. Me and Jessica, we're welcoming our fourth child here in September. And so, that's a blessing. God has blessed me. Jessica and I, we've had a son since the whole dust up with the Republican Party. He just turned 1 in February. His name's Harrison. I'm very, very proud, and just it's a blessing, Todd, that God has given me these children, and I want to carry this effort, right? I want to make this city not only the best for them, but the best for everyone's children, because I know if I'm working to make it the best for my children, that other people's children are going to benefit from that too. You're going to be able to say that, you know what, this guy gets me.
Well, it seems like everybody has an opinion on Brandon Martin. Yeah. What is the most misunderstood thing that you want to get across to the community about you as a person? That you've heard or that you feel that you need to get across?
Okay. I'll touch on some things that we've talked about. First and foremost, I am a Christian. I do not apologize for being a Christian. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, and that's what that is. And I am happy to share that with anybody who asks me, and I'm happy to put that out on camera. I don't think that my faith should be a central issue to this campaign, except that it governs the way I conduct myself. It influences me to treat others the way I would want to be treated, to take care of the most unfortunate or the people with the biggest conflicts in our society. The poor, the people who can't take care of themselves. These are people that we should, at the city level, this is our job. It's not the federal government's job to do these things. It's our job locally to look at our neighbor and say, how can we assist you today? What can we do? And how can city government do that for you? So I guess the biggest misconception is that, but I don't hate people of other faiths. If you're not a member of a Christian church, I don't hate you. If you're Jewish, if you're Muslim, if you're atheist, I don't hate you for that. We may have difference of opinion on our spirituality and our religion and our faith, and I'm happy to share the message of my church at any time. But I don't believe that that's a reason to hate someone because that they're different. And I've never been that. That's a narrative that is kind of put on, especially Republicans. But I very much pride myself in being there for my neighbor, being there for my community. I was a Boy Scout growing up. I worked on farms. It's just something that I've been used to. And so if there's a misconception out there, for people who have really got to know me, I know one lady on the Facebook post, she said, "Oh, that young man goes to our church, and he seems like a nice guy." And I do. I go to a couple different churches, and so. Anyway, if you ever see me out, even if you're not going to vote for me, even if you're not, going to sign my petition, please say hi, and I love meeting new people. I love hearing things because I do intend on getting elected. And this is, my pitch to you. This is what I'm offering you, right? Because when you're the mayor of Sierra Vista, for those of you that do not know how our city government works, there's a town manager, there's a city manager who basically does all the work. He's the wizard behind the curtain. He's the one doing all the work and making sure people are getting done, and he gets paid over $100,000 a year to do that. The mayor and the council, they come up with policies, they network, they go to the fort, they meet with people from other communities and business leaders. I believe my networking abilities, the things that I described to you earlier, those are the exact reasons that I am a fit for this job, that I can bring jobs here, that I can provide services for you. And let me talk about the services, because that's something very important. It's not just the elderly, it's not just the retirees in our community that need good services from the police department, the fire department, the hospitals. It's something that we all have. And so when my son Harrison was born, his sister Vivian gave him RSV, and he was less than a month old, and his heart stopped. Like he turned blue in our home. We called the paramedics. And within minutes we had police and paramedics at our door. And he was taken by ambulance to Canyon Vista, and he stayed in Canyon Vista overnight and was flown by helicopter to TMC and Tucson. And I just want to look right now to the police and to the firefighters and paramedics of this community. For me and my family, we appreciate you so very much. And that was, for any parent, it's a hard situation. And to know that we have good services like that. And for those people who maybe haven't experienced this, paramedics, these people who climb in the back of these ambulances with 1-month-old children to 90-year-old retirees, they go through a lot mentally, and it's not a light thing, and it's day in and day out, and it can dull your just your perception of what is. And so personally, from me to all of our first responders and my family, thank you so very much for what you do. I want to make sure that everyone in our city has access and that we're taking care of our first responders. If you're a police officer that has to discharge your duty weapon, or you're a paramedic climbing in the back of that ambulance with a small child, we want to make sure that, we're here for you because we are a community. So again, just thank you so much.
Brandon, before we close, just want to give you one more chance here to take the floor and look in the camera to the community and say your final thoughts.
I thank everyone for reasonable discussion. You can have your opinions, and that's fine. When you run for public office, you make yourself available to everybody and everything under the sun. I love all of my children. I love them all. And so, unfortunately, some people in the community that I mentioned earlier that I have blocked, they unfortunately attacked my children. They went after my children, and they brought a new wave to this political thing that I don't appreciate. But for the reasonable people out there, for the people who want to be informed, for the people who don't just walk around holding up a newspaper saying, look at this, I've got one piece of information over a 14-year period, and I think I know everything. They don't know everything. And I, am here to make myself available. And I think you should vote for me. I think you should let me go out there and represent you. Call that guy who established the opportunity zones. Call the people I know in business, get more affordable housing here built, bring more jobs. I am one of you, okay? I worked at Lowe's. If you're someone who is, getting to the job site and you stop by the home improvement store in the morning as soon as it opens at 6 a.m. and you're making sure your lumber, your house package, or whatever is ready to go and being shipped on time, I'm here to represent you. If you're one of those police officers or nurses that's pulling an overnight shift and you're out there busting it every day for us, working 12 or 24-hour shifts sometimes, I'm here to represent you. Every single member of my community, this I promise you, when you elect me, I will work my hardest for you to make this city not only the best for you that it can be, for the best for my children that it can be. And so my website is brandonmartinformayor.com. I have my 3 different pillars there that I'm running on. You can sign up for the newsletter. You can email me. You can request to sign my petition. I appreciate any support and all support. And at the end of this day, whoever wins this race, just let them know that we are putting our best foot forward for our community, for the city of Sierra Vista, and that we are making sure that this is the best place to raise a family or retire that it can be. And I appreciate you, Todd, so much for giving me the opportunity and the other candidates so that way we can put out our message.
Brandon Martin, candidate for mayor of Sierra Vista, thank you for joining us today.